Slave masters used to have this as a saying: nigga sing, nigga dance, nigga jump, or nigga die. Those are the 4 areas right now of human endeavor you see manifestation of greatness from among black people: either singing, dancing, entertaining, or jumping, playing a sport, or dealing death, or are dead. Those are the only 4 areas that we are allowed to operate. So there's gatekeepers and monsters at all the doors of engineering and medicine and architecture. All the stuff that's nation building is challenging to get in that, but they always guide us into that. God does not create hoopers. God does not create wide receivers and running backs. God, we are only manifesting greatness in these areas because these are the areas that have been open to us with the least amount of hindrance and suppression.
So that was a clip from Cam Newton's Freaky Friday of brother Nuri Muhammad. And this interview that Cam Newton did with Nuri is really, really a good listen if you got time, but it's 3 hours long, right? But he's dropping a lot of gems. I'm going to go through and we're going to check out some of the highlights. That was one of the highlights right there. They're talking about topics like that during this whole podcast episode, and it's really, really good. Let's take a look at what's going on this podcast episode.
Now, this particular individual, my next guest, really intrigued me from afar. I've seen him on multiple different platforms. I've seen him in different elements where the words that he spoke of were so empowering, and I just appreciated the wisdom. So when I reached out to him, contrary to, my religious beliefs and his religious beliefs, I said, man, you know what, that'd be a dope conversation. This particular person is a student minister of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's an author, an activist, a mentor, an entrepreneur. And I present to some and introduce to others, brother Nuri Muhammad.
Oh, man. Brother Cam, it's an honor to share space and time with you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Man, like I said, bro, I've seen so many clips of you, and you have this energy, this ram about you that's just like, man, he's just a book of knowledge. You know what I mean?
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Now that Cam Newton has introduced Mr. Nuri Muhammad, I have to ask, what do you guys think about the Nation of Islam? You guys can see he is a disciple, and a lot of people have mixed views. Even in this podcast, they did break down a little bit of how religion oftentimes is a great divider, but at the end of it, the people that are really walking the path, they have the same exact goals in mind, right? It's just oftentimes in the podcast, he talks about how religion, people that are certain religions, they often look down on gang bangers and, gangs and stuff like that who are, repping sets. He was like, when it comes to religion, they set tripping. A lot of times people don't receive the word or receive knowledge or even want to work together because they are divided and set tripping. Because oftentimes people that are like Christians or Muslims, they often look down on the other religion. As he said in the podcast, they set trip. They repping this one and they don't mess with the other side. But when it comes to, growing as humanity and a group of people, we all can learn something from each other. So again, let me know what you think about the Nation of Islam. One thing that I did like was Nuri's view on education. Let's take a look at this clip together.
Education is only 1/4 information. The other 3/4 is encouragement. And nothing encourages a child like teaching them about someone that looked like them that accomplished great feats in the past. So we've been through school. Black and white children start school the same way. They hold on to their mother's leg, get peeled off, have to cry, real timid, head down, moving slow. But notice that as both of them matriculate through 12 years of the public school system, I said it right, they going through, but look at what they're learning about. Black and white child are birth learning about white greatness. They learned about George Washington, a white man, Thomas Jefferson, a white man, Einstein, a white man, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Thales, Hypothesis, all these are white men. So that white child is learning about people that look like them that accomplished great feats in the past. So after 12 years, he walks out of school with his back straight, chest out, head held high, ready to conquer the world. But the little brother,
Your father knows about saving money. Everything I'm wearing, I've had since boot camp.
didn't learn about nobody that looked like him that accomplished great feats in the past. So when he walks out, he started with his head down. Now he leaves 12 years later with his head and his pants down because he never learned about people that looked like him. So knowledge of self, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said is essential to learn. And knowledge of self produces love for self. And when you love yourself, you start doing for yourself. And if I know myself and I love myself and I'm doing for myself and you, my brother, my other self, then I'm going to treat my other self the same way. Guess what happens? All crime, all violence, all mistreatment, envy, jealousy, all the stuff that's plaguing our community, it disappears from knowledge of self and love of self.
What's your thoughts about Black History Month?
Well, it's a pretty little cheap pacifier that they've stuck in our mouth.
You agree with it or disagree with it?
I disagree with it in the sense of this. Here we are, the people with the longest history of anybody on the planet. Yet when it's time to remember us, we get the shortest month of the year. Think about that for a second. And notice that Black History Month in the educational system is never before slavery. It's always from the plantation to the present or the cotton field to the current. You never learn about Imhotep or Mansa Musa or the Nile Valley civilization or Timbuktu or the lost city of Atlantis. We don't learn anything about what we were before we were kidnapped and brought to America and westernized and Caucasianized. We don't learn about what we used to be before we were brought here. We learn about the accomplishments of a slave under the slave master or about a freedom fighter or a revolutionary who either was killed or their movement was broke. So guess what happens to the mind if all we know about is plantation to the present? What happens is if we look back and we see us as slaves living in mud huts, working from can't see morning, can't see night for free, dressed in burlap, then we start getting a little apartment, $10 an hour, couple jackets, and think we didn't really came somewhere. Next thing you know, we start talking about we started from the bottom, now we here. But if we could really learn about ourselves, we would say we started from the top and now we way down here. So in that sense, Black history is a scam that has been offered to give us a pacifier. A pacifier, it looks like a nipple, might even feel like a nipple in the baby's mouth, but no milk is coming out of the pacifier. It's put in the mouth just to put somebody to sleep. And unfortunately, this Black history, the way it's been taught, has put us to sleep. McDonald's said, celebrating Black History 365. We shouldn't have needed McDonald's to say that. We should have said it ourselves. There's no other nation of people that have 1 month to talk about themselves. Every day is about themselves. So we shouldn't allow them to limit us to a 1 month, shortest month of the year, to learn about self. Every day should be Black History Month.
I said this before, but I draw a fence to who's the messenger of Black history. My children, they go to a pretty good school.
Yes, sir.
I take education extremely serious, especially the early development of education, as well as furthering their education as well. But I witnessed something that I said to myself, it's like, are they really getting the trueness of that?
Right.
Because at one particular point in time when you do some soul searching and you start saying yourself and you start asking those questions, it's like, hold on, where do we come from?
Yeah.
Hey, we living in Georgia,
See?
a slavery state.
That's right.
So if that person who's teaching you about something look like them,
Come on.
and that's not to create divide. That's not to create, a bad guy, good guy. I just draw a fence sometimes when Black history is being taught by a person that is not Black.
Let me show you how, look at how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan put it. He said, any man that will not treat you right will never teach you right. They're not going, I mean, if there's an African proverb that says that if the lion hunter is the one that tells the story will always favor the hunter. So even when we learn this Black history, the reason you offended is because Black history, for the main course, is Martin Luther King Jr. You get you a side dish of Rosa Parks, maybe 3 tablespoons of Frederick Douglass, and maybe a shot glass of some Malcolm X. But you don't get any real history of us before we were in America made slaves. That's the impediment. So we have to start giving our children real homework. Do you know when you graduate from a college, whatever college that we graduate from, we call it our alma mater. Alma mater is German for other mother. So educational institutions are the other mother. So if the educational institution is the other mother, who's the primary teacher? It's the real mother. It's the real father. So we have an assignment to not rely on the school system or any place we deposit our children in to be their primary educator. No, we have to teach our own children. Frederick Douglass said this, that any child that only learns at school is an uneducated child. We have to teach our children ourselves. So give them homework, Brother Cam, and just incentivize it. Offer them some money, and you watch how serious they get. I'm telling you, I almost went broke. My daughter almost got me. She was wrestling with some issues, so I had some books I wanted her to study to help her get it. And it was summertime. I told her, for every book you read, I'm gonna quiz you on it, which means I had to read it too, and it's $100 per book. 3 weeks in, she had knocked down 4 books. I said, oh my God, summer vacation is 3 months. I think she did 14 books. And I'm talking about, took notes on all of them, and I quizzed her, and she learned it. So I came to her, I said, well, my word is bond, I gotta give you the money I promised you. And when I was gonna give her the money, but Cam, look what she said. She said, that's okay, Daddy. What I got from the books is way more valuable than the money. I still gave her some money, but my point is that we have to give our children real homework, and it shouldn't be the regurgitation of stuff that was sent home from school. It should be the stuff that we're putting in our baby's mind that they can take to school with them to have the right mindset to conquer the environment that we deposited them in.
How many children do you have?
3. I have 3 children. Yeah.
I'm gonna take that. Because transparently speaking, I've always been the parent that's the school's job to teach my children, right? Ignorantly enough. And I use my own truth sometimes to educate and empower, to not say that this is the right way. It's just to say that I'm flawed and to understand that I'm a work in progress. But when I hear you talk, one of those things that I think about is because by the time I get home, I want to be dead. Wow. By the time I get home, you know, I've provided all my life. I've provided all day and was a servant to so many people, being labeled the boss. Yeah. That means you're just the biggest servant. Yeah. And by the time I see my children, I don't got time, but I need to start making time.
Yeah. Well, this is, so, you know, we have a saying, men sharpen men like steel sharpen steel. So the minister said this. Now, to me, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, why is this man walking among us? Listen what he said. He said, I've never met another human being that was not my superior in some way. That means that everybody can teach everybody something. So I'm learning from you. There's things that you can tell me that I never seen it like that, and I could take it as a jewel and nugget to renegotiate my contract with my life. There might be some things I'm saying that you can help, you can take to use do the same thing for. Right. But you had it right though, Brother Cam. It always has broke my heart to drive past a raggedy public school killing field and see parents pulling up in $100,000 vehicles, picking their children up from a raggedy miseducation institution. The number one investment of a real parent should not be their IRA, the 401k, stocks, bonds, real estate. The number one investment of a real parent should be in their children.
Yes, sir.
So if there's anything that's going to be determined for distribution of resources, it'd be better to pull up in a Camry at a good school that's teaching the children properly than to keep pulling up in these $100,000 automobiles, watching our children have a needle stuck in their brain and their spirit killed, their aspirations assassinated, and their dreams snatched. So now you have it. You can use them as reinforcement,
Yes, sir.
but you become the primary enforcer of the wisdom, knowledge that you want them to learn.
So this is a deep conversation right here, and I love every bit of it. Let's start with, first he was talking about how black people, when we talk about like Black History Month and learning about Black history in schools or in the United States, and I know this for a fact, they often teach us, they start our history with slavery. And then, on from there. Then you learn about, how you get free. You learn about all these different slaves that did all these great things. And you learn from there. But they never teach about Black history before slavery. And he says this puts you in the mindset of, I was a slave. Now I'm free. I need to be grateful, but you don't know where you came from beforehand. That's deep right there. That's powerful. And I agree with what he's saying right there. We don't learn enough, especially in schools. You have to research your own stuff, but the schools definitely don't teach us anything before that. So yeah, I agree with him like that. You got to educate your own kids and educate yourself. And don't rely on, them giving you Black History Month just to figure out that's the time you want to learn about Black history, And then he tells Cam Newton about how he gave his daughter homework. And once you incentivize it with money, I might have to take that away from this too, maybe later on, my kid's a little older. But he was incentivizing his daughter reading books. Well, he talked about how he would give her money per book and she would have to take notes and do reports on the book. And she ran through it because she wanted to get that money. But she also learned at the end. And she really felt like she learned a lot from it, so much so that she didn't even want the money. That's awesome. And that's a great way to educate your kids. And he also dropped one of the most important jewels was your kids should be your biggest investment. He said how he hate to see parents pull up in all these fancy cars and they pulling up to public school. They're not investing in their kids. They can invest in these $100,000 cars, but not in their kids' education. That is powerful. So let me know what you guys think about that little exchange with Nuri Muhammad and Cam Newton. I got one more clip for you.
I don't know if you ever heard of Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. He wrote Think and Grow Rich, but he studied 500 people for 20-some years under Andrew Carnegie's funding and backing. And what he was doing, he was trying to study the habits of the leaders of all the different industries around the world. And when he studied these 500 most successful people in all fields of human endeavor, he found 16 things that were common among all of them. One of those things was what he called transmutation. That is the transfer of power from one area in life to another area in life. So when your brother says what he says, and we know from the outside looking in that you were born with a certain amount of talent, but it took work to hone that talent and get it to the level where it is. So it took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of sacrifice. So transmutation says that whatever I was able to do in one area, all I got to do is bring the same mindset to this other area, and I can do it too. You remember whenever I can't remember how long ago. Remember the D League? They call it the G League now. For NBA first started, that's developmental league. They was bringing the young soldiers through to get them prepared for the NBA. The first year or second year, Magic Johnson was their speaker. Listen to what he said. He said, "I want to teach you brothers how to take the brain you built in basketball and use it for business."
Yes, Lord.
I don't think he's been invited back, but he should be there every time, because all that is transmutation. It's changing discipline. One of our impediments as a people is, number one, we celebrate athletics more than we do academics for our children. That's bad math. The other thing is we put our children in the sports, and so do white people. But white people put their children in sports to extract the principles from it, and we put our children in sports to become a professional at it. And whenever they go in and we go in, they too are in the little league. They too are in Pop Warner. They there. But because they're going in there to extract principles from it, if they don't make it to the NBA or the NFL, they take the sacrifice they learned, the discipline, the hard work, the working through fatigue, the teamwork, the categorization of personal life problems and still being able to perform a task, and they take that to their law firm or their insurance agency or their dental office, and they just take discipline over there with them and become great in that. But we got our mind wrapped up 100%. If I'm going to the league, I'm going to the league, I'm going to the league, I'm going to be in the NFL, and if it don't happen, now you got a brother with a broken spirit. Right now, Brother Cam, there's 500,000 black boys playing high school basketball. Only 17,000 of them will actually make it to college to play basketball.
On a scholarship.
And on a scholarship. And out of them 17,000, only 44 of them will make it to the NBA. And out of the 44 that make it to the NBA, only 7 of them will get a starting position. And the average career of the one that did get a starting position is only 5 to 7 years. So there's 500,000 black boys competing for 7 full-time jobs that ain't gonna last for 7 years.
Ooh.
I don't know. That's bad sacrilege. You ain't catch that.
Bad sacrilege.
It's messed up. Yeah. So we have to, what your brother's saying, he's telling you, but this is a universal message we all need to know.
No, for sure.
If you became proficient in any sport, you have a greater calling on your life, and you can take that discipline that you use and all the principles from it and go into anything and be a master of it. And if you find exactly specifically what you're born to do, that's where happiness comes from.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that clip right there. You guys can hear Nuri Muhammad. He's talking about how oftentimes us black people, we get into sports and we go 100% in. And, you know, we can be playing with, of course, white kids. They go into sports too. And he's just talking about how we as black people, we put 100% effort into making it to the NFL, the NBA. We putting our kids in there to try to go pro and make it to that league. And he breaks it down with the numbers. He says, you know, the average basketball player plays maybe 5 years, but he says, so we have millions and millions and millions of kids out here striving to get a 5-year career. He's saying that, and then he says that's ass backwards, right? Instead of us having our kids play sports and extracting the discipline that comes with sports, that dedication, that motivation, like white people are putting their kids in these sports to extract all of those skills, we should be doing the same. And, you know, more so focus on that instead of having all these disappointed young men and women, you know, because they aren't getting that 5-year job. So let me know your thoughts about brother Nuri Muhammad and his exchange with Cam Newton. If you have time, you can always go and check out the whole podcast. It is 3 hours. I might go back and pull a few other clips that I really liked. But I hope you enjoyed this one. And like always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.